traditional white and red uniform. Up to the quarter line comes Coburn. Very high work rate, this player. Still in their quarter, or a yard out. Back it goes to the fullback, Steve McKenzie. Straight down Philip Graham's throat. Parramatta players fairly close to being offside then. Peter Cullen, first touch. What about Peter Cullen, Barry Ross?
Well, this is his first grade game with St George. Played with the Kiama RSL club in the St George Junior League. Only 19 years of age.
19 years of age, first grade game. And what a place to play at Cumberland Oval in front of the Cumberland fans. Well, the Parramatta side have put the cleaners through St George in both the earlier games. Parramatta 25, St George 2. In reserve grade, under 23s, Parramatta 27, St George 8. First penalty of the match goes to St George. Scrum infringement. Philip Graham. What's that Rod Reddy's calling out from the field there, Barry? Can you pick that up?
No.
Kick the touch, Dowling restarts. For Robert Stone, he was much too flat then. They'd overrun. His timing was bad coming up to take the ball. Just inside the Parramatta quarter. Morris switches play back to Trudgett. Big Graham win on the burst, and by heavens he was hit hard there. Good tackle by Coburn. There's Craig Young. Plenty of authority in this St George pack. Young gets up and has a bit of a look at one of his opponents. Stone brings through a tackle, still going, about 10 metres out now from Parramatta's line. They get a strong impression the smaller Parramatta forwards are going to have a bit of trouble handling this St George back. Morris switches, goes. Price has him, a bit of punches being thrown at the top of that tackle. Dowling, Young, Trudgett, dummies but couldn't unload. And then driven back. Ready. Win gets sorted out. Not late. It was Sharp, I think, that Scott rather that affected the tackle. Great take there. Conan. Referee calling for the tackle and inside the 5. A little bit of kicking, a bit of stupidity going on here between some of these players. Sterling resented the tackle there of Buckley, and it was a bit heady, but he lashed out with his foot. A kick back to halfway come Parramatta. Now in possession at the moment, one of the new players, Brad Williams, bearded. Sterling. Scott, McKenzie, and they come to a shuddering halt at halfway. What a small looking team this Parramatta side today. Sterling, good long pass. Scott, Conan, the pass was a bad one, taken well by McKenzie. Coburn out among the three quarters, wide as virtually an outside centre. There's again, Stevens, Hilditch, slips and falls, takes the tackle. They've lost about 15 metres. Sterling electing to kick, takes it, drops it. Sorodimi, and sidestep back into the tackler. I thought he had him beaten. He stepped back into him. Johnson. Danzy calling for a good 5 at the moment. They're back, I'd suggest, about 7 metres. Play midway between the St George quarter and halfway. Big win. His brother Peter is sitting in the St Joseph's Hospital at Auburn presently. We are told, watching the telecast, convalescing from knee surgery. We wish him well. Oh, low pass and way behind the man it was intended for. Still there, and Parramatta come up with possession. That's a bad bit of football. Now Parramatta with their first strong sortie in an attacking position. Stevens. Hilditch. 10 metres out, directly underneath the posts. Sterling. Cronin. Well, still looking to get the pass away as he was falling, but wisely didn't. Mackenzie at dummy half. Stevens. Price. Resisting the tackle to the end. Stevens. Sterling. Johnson. And Parramatta have come up with the ball, and they're in for a try. Stephen Edge has come up with the dregs from that. I must be honest and say I didn't see that he caught the ball cleanly, but he certainly came up with it, and there's a try underneath the post. Let's see it again. Now watch for Sterling to put them onside. Johnson touches it first, but in my view, all those Parramatta players are offside. All in front of the kicker. And all within the distance of the player. And Johnson's number one moving in, being surrounded by players. None of those were onside in my view. There's the pass coming out to Edge. And Cronin successful as he could almost hit the block of land on that one. So Parramatta have come up with a 5-0 lead after only about 7 minutes of play. The scrum win to St George. Just inside their quarter. With all these big sentences being handed out these days, I've asked Barry Ross to talk to one of the long-term footballers around Sydney who's out, unfortunately injured at the moment, Bob O'Reilly.
Yes, Bob, you're a veteran of Test football and club football. What do you think of these big suspensions that are being handed around at the moment for foul play?
Well, I think it's a part of the game that we'd all like to see out of the game, and I think the large suspensions really bring home the fact that foul play won't be tolerated. And as far as I'm concerned, I go out in the paddock knowing that any misdemeanor cause that could get me sent off might cost me the rest of the season. So I think in most ways, I think it's really cleaning the game up and should be applauded.
And Bob, just a quick question. Your leg injury, how will you stand for next week's game?
At the moment, I wouldn't be too sure about playing next week, Barry, but after that, I think I'll be right for the week after.
Bob O'Reilly, affectionately known as the Bear by fans. Well, that's a clever bit of football there by Johnson. Back inside to Brian Johnson. And he's got it again, Brian Johnson, the fullback. Handled twice in that move. Clever bit of play. Sucked the Parramatta defenders to him. Reddy having a run and falls. Trudged it in dummy half. Now Graham Wynn. Enormously powerful man this. And he gets up and runs. And a pass back inside to Dowling. That's 3 metres outside the quarter. Wood. Morris rather, Trudgett. Yes, shepherding, accidental or not, see it again, but it's the way the referee saw it and he was quite right. Penalty goes to Parramatta. Impeded the defence. Impeded, knocked it out of the way. It had to be a penalty. Hilditch wrapped up ball and all there, couldn't get a pass away. Wynn with long arms entwined around his body. Sterling, Scott, Mackenzie, Cronin standing up in the tackle. Still going, jumper half torn off, but it passed away. Mackenzie. I don't think that jumper's ever going to be quite the same. Parramatta in the opening 18 18 minutes of this game have not had any inferiority complex about their size as opposed to the big St George pack. Sterling. Stevens. That's a beautiful pass to Cronin. Cronin gets a one-hander away to Kenny. Only about 20 metres out now from the St George line. Pressure. Up goes the bomb. They're onside this time. Johnson. Oh, it's been taken clearly by Mackenzie. That's a magnificent jump in the air, and Gibson's selection of Mackenzie, I think, has been well and truly justified on his performance in the opening 20 minutes. That was a spectacular one. Sterling, a beautiful bomb straight up in the air. Both tries coming from bombs, and Johnson, who's been fearless, just getting knocked out of the way, really. Now there it goes, very high, beautifully judged. Johnson standing his ground, no ways wavering, but Mackenzie was just there. Some statistics after this kick. And another two-pointer to Michael Cronin. So the score scurries away after 19 minutes of play. Parramatta 10, St George 0. At the halfway mark in the first half, the scrums, the completed scrums have gone 3-2 in favour of St George. The penalties are 3-all. Glover. The size of the St George pack has not been evident in this last 10 minutes. Parramatta have tackled them low and hard and often. Cronin folded his body around that pass and came to him hard. Stevens. Error count, Parramatta 2, St George 3. That's the number of times each side's given the ball back to the opposition. Stephen Edge. Pass getting away. There it is out to Coburn. Coburn sprinting well, but he takes the tackle. He had support on the outside in the shape of Hilditch, who can run a bit. Oh, that pass looked a little bit marginal, but it's got it away there to Kenny to Cronin. Cronin back inside to Edge. I think he's in for number 2. Stephen Edge, the try-scoring hooker and captain. Great backing up. Well, won't he be delighted, scoring a try against, or 2 tries against his old side. And you'll notice that Brad Williams, the left winger, was involved in that. Price was there. The pass back inside to Kenny was a beaut. Watch the overhead pass from Cronin, taken by Edge and taken well at Price. Bewildering them with science. The 3 St George defenders went right across out of the way. There's the Cronin overhead. Now watch the momentum. It's not a double movement. Well, there it is. Cronin with a simple kick from about 11 metres out. And there it is, a most imposing scoreline after 20 minutes. Parramatta 15, St George 0. Morris again. How quickly this Paul Taylor's getting out of the scrum. There he is round the top. Well, they look identical, almost, Sterling and Taylor. Morris, Craig Young, batters his way through the middle and did it solo. There was nobody there that he would have passed to anyway. Morris, Trudgett, Wynn standing wide, burst the first line. Away to Brian Johnston. He's got a bit of pace. Now Saradimi. Spectacular stuff. Saradimi with a little kick through. He'll win the race to the ball, but when the... Yes, it's a great try! And that's the way to hit back. Quality stuff. And Parramatta 15 have still got this magnificent lead to St George 3. And from side on, this is the way it looked. Morris. Wynn does very well here to bust the first line and unload. From that point, it was a try, so long as things were done correctly. Brian Johnston, the automatic overlap. Glover beaten for pace by Saradimi. A beautifully judged kick ahead. No fault there to the fullback. He had to commit himself by going in. When the kick turned him around, there was no way he could match it with Saradimi for pace. Now, that was the critical one. Johnston, Saradimi. The little kick is Mackenzie comes to him, and a very fortuitous bounce and a top effort. I hope the boos from the Parramatta fans are affectionate for Johnny Raper, because there's been no better footballer pulled on a boot for 30 years than that man for Australia. Unsuccessful to kick. And I'd like to think that Parramatta fans have got memories of marvellous things done by men for their country. Parramatta 15, St George 3. Midfield, this scrum, 24 metres out from the St George quarter. Morris. Oh, he had Trudgett on the outside. He's got up and played it forward. Little fella's lightning acceleration, gets to the halfway. Trudgett, Graham Buckley. 15 points to 3. St George need more points before half-time. Craig Young. Looking to drop that pass back on the inside, but couldn't get his hands free. Morris, Trudgett. He's got no change at all today, Trudgett, from Brett Scott. Stone, Graham Saradimi in the clear. He's done the kick again. He'll win the race to this. Oh, the bounce is unbelievable. What a double. Well, you've got to give him credit. I feel sorry for Mackenzie, who has been confronted with a pacey winger with lots of side space on a couple of occasions. I'd give up and crawl in a hole if that happened to me. Now look at this man move. He's like a greyhound. The beautifully judged little toe poke with the right foot. Now watch the bounce, as if he's got it on a string. What a great kick. 5th try of the season to Saradimi. 2nd one today. There's the unenviable thing happening. Turned him around. Obviously was going to beat him for pace anyway. Philip Graham. This is a simple kick. And he gets them back into some sort of contention now with 6 minutes to half-time. The scoreline that reads Parramatta 15, St George 8. Cronin drives that one deep. Stands up on its end nicely for Philip Graham. A bit of a breeze sprung up Barry Ross.
Yes, just in the last 2 or 3 moments. It's a strong southerly, and it could play a big part in the second half, favouring St George in that half, of course.
Robert Stone. Paul Taylor has had the top game in defence. Here's Johnson making the bust. He could go on with this too. Yes, he's got the beating of Steve Mackenzie. This is going to be a runaway. Kenny's at him. And there's 3 tries to St George, 2 of them in the last 60 seconds. Incredible stuff. Seeing a feast of football here. It's first one side, then the other. Look at Johnson. Just comes, hits that line the way he did last week against Penrith to score what I thought was the turning point try. And great acceleration. And Mackenzie, well, he's been put in some horrible positions. But there it was. From head on, a nice pass, as you'll see, coming up from Graham Wynn. And that was it. Now watch him change direction now. A little step and a swerve. So much pace. He knew he had a try at halfway. As long as he didn't break down, he was going to score that one. Another simple kick, but very important. Slow. Strikes that well. Score then moves on to 15-13. And St George, my statistician tells me, have scored how many points in the last 5 minutes? Well, Harry Barth will be a little bit happier at the moment, I would think. We'll probably get a shot of that smiling face before the day's over. St George have come up with 10 points in 10 minutes.
Yes, and it's turning into a carbon copy of that great game of 2 or 3 seasons ago. I was talking about when Parramatta raced away to an 18-0 lead and St George came back just before half-time, and the second half was a beauty.
Well, there's nothing wrong with what we've seen so far. We've had, I think, 6 top tries.
Exactly, and these two sides seem to turn these sort of games on over the years.
Well, we've got a great crowd here. I don't know what your view of it is. I'm no expert, but I'd say we've got 17,000, between 16 and 17,000 here. And they've obviously anticipated such a contest. Graham Wynn, who's had a relatively quiet first half, loses the ball. Parramatta back in possession. It'll be nice for them if they can get back some of those tries that have been squandered. Edge. Stevens. Craig Young belts him to the ground. Sterling. The kick off the right side of the foot. Oh, the bounce has gone back towards Parramatta. Cronin tried to half volley it. Coburn knocks on, and it's a penalty offside. No, there's holding. Let's see if we can pick up what happened. The crowd roared as Sterling made that kick. I think there must have been a player interference at that point. Let's see. There it was on the left-hand side. I just picked up a St George player holding a Parramatta player coming through, but I can't identify who it was. There it was there. I think it was Graham Wynn. I may be doing him an injustice. It happens fleetingly, but he definitely held the jersey of a player, St George player held the jersey. The crowd has kicked the goal. That may well be a very important 2 points. That's 17-13 to Parramatta. The half-time hooter goes with the score at 17-13 for Parramatta. A try to McKenzie, 2 tries to Stephen Edge and 4 goals to Michael Cronin in their 17 points. And for the St George side, 3 tries, 2 to Brian, 2 to Michael Saradini, 1 to Brian Johnson and 2 goals to Philip Graham in their 13 points. We've seen some splendid action. We're hoping that we're going to see some more in the next 40 minutes. We'll take this break. Second half, we've got 1 replacement in the St George side. Number 18, Brad Buchanan, is taking the place of Rod Reddy, who's off. Barry, reason for off?
Rod Reddy suffered a couple of knocks to the head in the first half, and he's off because of concussion.
Right, you've been in the dressing rooms?
Well, I've spoken to both coaches, yes. Jack Gibson's quite happy with the Parramatta side. Of course, he's not happy with the scrums, but he doesn't blame his team for that. He wants a quick feed this half, and hopefully he can get some ball. The scrum count, according to the Parramatta statistician, was 5-2 against. And, of course, he's concerned with the defence out wide. They want to tighten out a bit, too. St George, meanwhile, Harry Barth wants a bit more effort from his forwards, and perhaps they can make a few breaks through the middle.
All right, so we've got that statistical situation of St George leading the set scrums at half-time 5-2. The penalties are 4-all. The scoreline favours Parramatta 17-13. You recollect that St George came back with 10 points in 10 minutes in the latter stages. All been set down, and the referee will blow it up. There's no advantage. Robert Stone and Brad Williams involved in a minor fracas there.
Get yourself up, both. Parramatta, pull apart. Take the market another 3 metres. 3 metres in.
You can hear Jack Dancy giving instructions. 15,271, the official crowd. The ball's been stolen by St George. Very quick to break was Graham Wynn. Took it out of the halfback's hands virtually. Saradini. 10 metres inside Parramatta's half. Judges. Brad Buchanan playing in number 18. Replacing Rod Reddy. Morris. Craig Young. Out comes from Dowling. Stone. Johnson. Johnson's going. Oh, he stumbled! That was a dive, I think a despairing dive by Steve McKenzie. Just ankle tapped him. About 3 metres out, he's fallen. St George hot on attack now as Graham Wynn's wrapped up. Put it away to Dowling. Dowling slips up the blind side. Last tackle. Saradini. Trudgett. Wrapped up and pushed back about 24 metres or 23 metres back towards the goal line. St George. 17-13. This is the Dowling statistic. 130 from 56. Success rate 53.6. Penalty against St George feed across against Dowling. Glover. Paul Taylor at dummy half. Sterling. Scott got his pass to Cronin. The big fella stood up there. Three of them there to try to put him down. Sterling. Brett Scott. Sterling to Stevens. Up towards the halfway. Sterling. Accurate pass out to Cronin. Lovely pass out to Kenny. Inside to Glover. Last tackle. And inside the 5 are about 4 of the St George players, according to Mr Danzy. No prizes for getting. What will happen to this? Cronin will attempt the go. He's about 14 metres out. He's only about 10 metres off centre. And gets it. So 19 points to 13. Parramatta. Scott, that's a good run, winding from back inside his own end goal. Just outside the quarter, Hilditch. 10 metres outside the quarter. Parramatta's end. Stevens. Ooh, Coburn hit hard. One high, one low. Trudgett, Craig Young. Pass gone astray. Last tackle. Little Glover trying his luck with a grubber kick and does very well. Actually, it wasn't a grubber, it was a very low trajectory punt. And he struck it hard and low. No, actually he's packing in at lock now, and Price has gone into the second row. To the second half gone. Another scrum win to St George. Johnson comes up a Trudgett pass and effectively tackled there by I think Brett Scott. But anyway, we've got now Brian Johnson using his pace and using it well. He appeared to lose that forward. He hit the ground intending to pass the ball back on the inside and was struck down just in the middle of that thought. 8-4, Parramatta may well bleed to death on lack of club scrum possession. There's another scrum win to St George. Trudgett. Morris. We've got him well and surely taped. McKenzie, the fullback, well up in the line now. There's a penalty against St George, not facing square on. That's okay, so long as the referee sticks consistently to it for both sides. Mackenzie's kick was a good one. 13 minutes gone. 19-13, Parramatta lead. Hilditch belts his way through some ordinary St George defence. Sterling. Pass well taken there by Brett Scott. Wasn't offside. He was the marker and he came straight through. It was a bit slow moving there by Stevens. Sterling, Cronin, Price. But he's passed away, but it went forward. I think St George have come up with the dregs. Robert Stone. Brad Buchanan, replacement for Reddy. Craig Young. Huge load on Craig Young's shoulders in this St George pack. He's the one that keeps them honest, sets the work rate. Stone, nice pass to Johnson. Still going. Plenty of dummy. The kick ahead has been knocked down. 6 to go. The Saradini picks up the dregs. He's got a bit of pace. He's busted 1, 2. Lobs a pass over the top to Johnson. It's a try. Number 3 there. Peter Cullen, the new boy in the St George side, has got himself into the right position to score from very, very good work by, well, first Johnson, then Saradini, then Brian Johnston. Really ordinary Parramatta defence there when they allowed Johnson to make this initial break here. Watch the dummying, the stuttering, still going, evades 1, 2, he's beaten about 4 defenders. The kick is knocked down, ricochet, Saradini picks it up. Then comes Brian Johnston, the centre, a good pass from Saradini. And so he did that beautifully. That may well, that little pass there, get him into a representative spot. That was a beautifully taken bit of football. They're the quality things that good footballers do at the right moment that get points for their team. The kick, the rebound, Saradini quick to react. I want you to watch carefully the Brian Johnston pass. Here it comes. That was beautiful. That was a la Gaznia.
Parramatta prop Jeff Coburn is having treatment on the side and looks like a dislocation of some sort.
As we watch Graham put his kick into the air, unsuccessful. They needed that one. 19 points to 16 as our cameras focus on Coburn being treated by Alf Richards on the sideline. A sensational game of football here with 7 top tries, or is it 6? 7. Pilic on the surge. Gets into the quarter. There's the error situation. St George 9, Parramatta 7. It's the number of times each side's given the ball back to the opposition. Cronin. Oh, perilously close to being right through them. Taylor, Sterling. Out it goes. Then to Mackenzie, stepping. Only about 10 metres away.
And Graham Atkins is on for Parramatta. Neville Glover has left the field.
Sterling, beautiful side stepping. Last tackle. Price, away to Edge, away to Cronin. And that's the 6. Atkins comes on for 15 in place of Neville Glover. St George come up with another scrum win. Morris spins out of one tackle, but Price all over him like measles. Trudge it. Good straight hard run by Buckley. Pretty tough tackling out there from both sides. Graham Wynn. Had a quiet day. Well, Craig Young wanted to do a little left foot kick, but picked up by St George and offside play. Stephen Edge having an argument with the referee, but I'm sure Stephen is not going to win it. Minutes to go. 19-16 the score in Parramatta's favour. Still anyone's game of football. Robert Stone. Craig Young. Graham Wynn. About a metre short of the quarter line. Parramatta's end. Morris. He's tried to go more in his own in this match than I've seen him since he's been with St George. Craig Young, a beautiful pass straight on to Brad Buchanan there, and he was picked off in a top tackle only about a metre away from the line. That was the fullback, of course, Stephen McKenzie, that perpetrated that great tackle, last tackle in this sequence. Saradimi. Morris, Trudgett. Submerged under defenders. Well, that looked as though it was the moment of truth, but Mackenzie's tackle on Buchanan was most effective. The Parramatta come up with a scrum win, and the crowd give them a welcome roar. 10-6. The scrum's in favour of Parramatta. St George. Stevens. Up towards the quarter line. Back inside to Hilditch. Good bustling prop forward run. It's too early yet for Parramatta to put up shop and play negative football. Cronin lost the ball behind him. Edge has it. Now Scott. Still got to keep moving the ball the way they've been doing. Of course, St George have got no option. Sterling. Beautiful step. Cronin. Away to Kenny. He's picked up in a tackle. The pass has gone to ground. And St George come up with it. Opportunities at both ends there. Philip Graham. Sterling's stepping ability has been an eye-opener this afternoon. Repeatedly beat the defence. Trudgett sights the gap. Beautiful taken by Johnson. Johnson's got support on the inside of Baines. One tackle. Graham Atkins puts him out and over the sideline. Top tackle from behind. Well, he's, as I said, he's Peter Sterling's doppelganger. Morris will run around move with Trudgett. Alf Richards is taking a long while over Sterling. He seems to might have an injury to the ribs. Saradini. Jack Gibson will be biting his nails, waiting for him to come back in. Wynn not been able to get himself into the clear at any stage today. Brad Buchanan, Morris, Stone. Pass away. Brad Buchanan comes onto it. Yeah, Sterling's back in the field of play. Craig Young, last tackle coming up. Little kick over the top. Taken well by Sterling. He takes the tackle. Graham Atkins, the Brad Buchanan, or Graham Buckley tackle. Ray Price. And beautifully then on to Peter Sterling. On to Brett Scott, rather. Down it goes from Brad Williams. Out to Kenny. Kenny's flying, but he's tackled again. The crowd rising to their feet. Cronin at dummy half. Bearded Bradley Williams slowly to his feet there. Now Kevin Stevens back on the inside to Cronin. Stood up in a tackle. Down it goes to Hilditch. Accelerating. Does the full swivel. Tackled on the quarter line. 19-16. 10.5 minutes to go. Stevens runs from dummy half. Unloads to Sterling. Sterling's pass was picked up by Ray Price on the half volley. Back on the inside to Sterling, I think. Is it Sterling? 22, St George 16. The girls are pretty happy about the whole scene, but let's see it again. Stevens initiated that with a long pass, then was Sterling. That pass seemed to be forward me. Ray Price did pick it up. Now watch this again as Stevens sucks the defenders to him. Sterling ran, the ball appeared to go forward, but Price half-volleyed it. That pass from Sterling then, Barry Ross. Did you have any view of it? You're nearer the quarter line.
Well, no, there were too many players involved. We did suspect, I'm still here with Graham Quinn on the sideline, we did suspect that may have been a little forward, but we couldn't tell from where we're sitting.
Cronin's kick is a beauty, a pressure kick and a very fine one, 24 points to 16. And that's going to make it very, very difficult now for St George. Stevens. Price only half. St George in that position of having to score twice. Atkins moving out to the right. Pass pulled out of the air by Kenny. The referee waves St George back onside. A game full of movement and flair. Sterling, one of the men of the match. Oh, look at this run here. Hilditch put into the clear. Takes the tackle. And Graham Wynn only about 15 metres out from the line. St George on the rack. McKenzie. Coburn. Cronin. So powerful. The number of times in a season you'd see him stand up in tackles like that, defying the opposition to put him down. McKenzie's bomb. Well, Johnson didn't make a fist of that. Coburn has it. Now Cronin has it again. Throws the dummy. And they finally built him over the sideline. And he's been charged, well, the St George players have been told that tackle must have been called, and they had no right to dump him over the sideline. Eighth attempted goal from Cronin from almost on the sideline. Oh, he struck that beautifully. It just faded away. Price was there underneath that kick and held up in the end goal. Johnson came up with the ball and tackled there. He's going to have to restart from the quarter line, or from the goal line.
That's another one of those Jack Gibson ploys, Rex. He definitely had a shot at the goal, but it was held up there deliberately. He kicked it from a very narrow angle, and it's like Jack Gibson did with Terry at South Sydney 2 or 3 seasons ago, so that all the players could get under the kick and the chance of the tries there as well as the goal.
There's firstly a centre kick. 24 points to 16 with 5.5 minutes to go. Well, vindicated is Jack Gibson with his selections. Not that he ever needed any, but there were many people in the media doubtful about the number of changes he'd made. They've all worked prodigiously, each one of the players that he's put in. Brett Scott with his kick there just a little bit too far. Down to the wire for St George into the last 5 minutes. Well, they scored 2 tries in a minute earlier, so did Parramatta. And the crowd think it's over for a great section of them. Very disappointed in Graham Wynn's form today. A very ordinary game. Morris, a little kick through. It's ricocheted off Parramatta player Coburn, and he's fallen on it. Price. That's Sharp, the replacement. Stephen Sharp playing at number 18. Edge. Sterling. A little kick through, very cleverly done by Paul Taylor. Cronin came up with a dregs. Price has it. And they're getting awful close to putting in another one. That's how close they are, only about a metre away. Crowd calling for another try. Price to Cronin. Well, he's famous on the burst run, but they knocked him backwards. Top forward defence there. Mackenzie turns it back on the inside. St George haven't given up the ghost. With about 4 minutes to go, unofficial time. It's a drop and goal by Taylor, and it's a field goal. So there, they've moved it well out of range now. 25-16, Parramatta. Running through the statistics of the match to this point in time. The scrums are favouring St George by 11-7. The penalties are 11-6 in favour of Parramatta. I'll go through the try scorers in the next few minutes, and there have been plenty. 8 tries, and that's out on the full. A sure sign that the side is in despair, I feel, when they kick out on the full. 8 tries. Well, the try scorers for the Parramatta team have been Stephen Mackenzie, Peter Sterling. Stephen edged 2 tries in the first half. Mick Cronin has kicked 6 goals from 8 attempts, and Taylor secured a field goal only seconds ago. For the St George side, they've scored 4 tries. Brian Johnson 1, Sorodimi 2, Peter Cullen 1, and Philip Graham has been successful with 2 from 4. They're the bland statistics of a most entertaining, interesting game. 25-16. Parramatta lead. A couple of minutes to go. Graham Witt and Steve Morris so well contained.
Yes, this mini Parramatta side has certainly done well, haven't they?
They surely have. Michael Sorodimi coming on, chasing hard. Paul Taylor, who's been one of the success stories in this game. It's very hard to look beyond the little Parramatta halfback Peter Sterling for a Man of the Match award, one would think. He and Taylor have been quite outstanding. Sorodimi, limited opportunities, but finished 2 of them beautifully with tries. Price.
Ray Price has had a very strong second half.
Yes, back to something of the form that we know of him.
That's right.
Sterling again. He's been involved in everything.
Yes, he certainly picked the right time with the Sydney side 2 Sydney sides to be selected next Sunday night, so he must be well and truly on the selectors' minds.
Cronin, Sterling now, the man we're talking about. The top probing go. Another attempted field goal, and that's wide. Coming down to seconds to go now, unofficially. Repeating the score in the earlier games, Parramatta 25, St George 2, reserve grade. Parramatta 27, St George 8, under 23s. Crowd just short of 16,000. Stone, Wynn, Johnson, overlap, Sorodimi, just too much cover there, and they got him over the sideline. There's the Hooter in the background, and delighted Cumberland fans, and it's good to see absolutely nobody on the field except people that are supposed to be there congratulate their heroes with a fine win, 25 points to 16.